Let's go. Kank kank. Well, wow. Hello. Well, hello. Welcome back to Pencil Live every Wednesday, 8 p.m. EST on your video scope, like Macho Man Randy Savage used to say. Welcome back to the live cast. If this is your first time viewing, boy, are you in for a treat. I'd like to introduce your expert host. I'm your first one. I am JAMAR NICHOLAS. I am a cartoonist in good standing, also on the board of the National Cartoonist Society. In the traditional book space, they call me an author illustrator. How interesting is that? I have a book series at Scholastic under the graphics imprint. If you love Dogman and Raina Tegelmeier and Bone and all those things, you might enjoy Leon. Leon Extraordinary is the first book in my series. On sale now. The next book in the series, Leon Worst Friends Forever, is on pre-order right now, dropping October 1st. Go get it. Why don't you? Guys, I would be remiss if I did not introduce my co-host. You may see him over there to my digital left, wherever I am. He is the world heavyweight champion of webcomics. He goes by in these streets, by God, it's Stone Cold Steve Conley. What up,
hello,
Steve
guys.
Conley? Well, hello.
Good to see you. Your Coco host.
Your Coco host.
Good to see you. My name is Steve Conley. I write and draw the webcomic The Middle Age, which you can read at middleagecomic.com. It's on Webtoons and Tapas and Go Comics. It's about a knight who's in love with a dragon and has a magic sword that hates him. You should check it out. I think I'd be remiss.
Yes.
If I did not introduce the Tower of Power, the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, the marvel of mark making, Mr. Mike Manley.
I love it.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Mike. Mike, pray tell, what do you do?
I do 2 newspaper strips. I do Judge Parker, which I've been working on for over 14 years now.
Are you kidding me? You're kidding me.
Yeah. And I'm about to flip the switch on number 8, working towards 8 on the Phantom. In fact, I just talked with Tony Bedard about the next story for my return to the Phantom.
Wow.
Which is going to be a lot of fun. It was a story idea I sort of suggested to him because I wanted to draw something with certain types of characters in the story that would be a little bit more fun for me to draw. But I don't want to reveal anything yet. But it will be a fun yarn, and as I've been told by many people, I drew your childhood.
You drew my childhood.
I drew your childhood.
Does that ever get old, Mike? I guess the older you get.
The older I get, the younger they get, and the more of their childhood was drawn.
Oh, that's. So
I drew
funny.
your college years, and then soon I drew you when you were your retirement home entertainment. It just keeps going.
I know it doesn't get any better. So one thing for all of you new eyeballs out there tonight, this is a evergreen live cast. We're live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. EST, where sometimes we have fantastic guests like the one we have tonight, and sometimes we're just kicking it. It's very rare that you get to watch a program with 3 expert cartoonists. I can't even count the years all total between us in the business.
And my expert cat.
Oh, that's right. The expert cat is always in effect. So I behoove you. I have lots of big $5 words tonight. I behoove you to stick around. I think you may really enjoy Pencil to Pencil after tonight. So, guys, before we get started, I have to confess that I'm a little tired. I just came off of a school visit run. So part of the thing I do as a middle grade graphic novel author, I do a lot of school visits. So today I had 2 in different parts of town, and then I had one yesterday. And I'm kind of on fumes, but we're going to make it happen. But one thing I wanted to share with you, one of the coolest parts of my job is, look at all of this. These are all thank you cards.
Wow.
From kids. It doesn't get any better than that. I mean, you know, if you ever go into a school building and the principal's waiting for you when you're not in trouble, that's new. Right.
That's
So like,
Principal's not waiting for you, and there's no police outside. Good.
yeah, the principal's like, hey, there's a traffic cone outside with your name on it. We reserved a parking space. We're so excited to see you. Come on in. It's great. It's a big change from when I was a kid in school. So
lovely.
yeah, so thank you so much. But we're going to make it happen. So we're going to introduce Brian when he's somewhere in the green room, and then we'll bring him in a second. So let me preface this, you guys. Everybody that's watching live, thank you so much. You can always catch us up in the replay later. BRYAN LEE O'MALLey is in the green room eating all of the rice checks. I'm very excited to bring him in soon. You may not know this, but Brian has been on our show before. And I don't know where the time has gone. I think it was 4 years ago, which that's still messing me up.
And
so
he was in an issue of Draw magazine.
Right, I interviewed him in Draw magazine a million years ago. Yeah, that's wild. So what you're going to find out in our time tonight is we're going to kind of like skip the basic "where were you born" stuff. We're not doing that origin story stuff tonight because we're past that in our relationship. We're just going to get some really good shop talk going. And if anybody in the chat has some really good questions for us, please ask them. I can't guarantee they'll get on air or they'll get to Brian, but we'll try. If it adds to the texture of our conversation, I'm more than willing to try to bring them in. So on behalf of Mike and Steve, let's bring in, hold on, I got to get ready. Hold on, I almost wasn't ready. Let's bring in our special guest tonight, BRYAN LEE O'MALLey. Woohoo. Yo, it didn't go. Hold on. It didn't fire. Hold on. All right, Brian, let's go. Rendering. Look at that. The miracle of 3D printing.
Hey. Hello.
Hey, what's
Good
up,
evening.
man? Good evening. How are you? How are you feeling?
Pretty good. I'm trying to open my phone here with the video on silent so I can see the chat, but I'll try to ignore it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There's a lot going on. So
I'm just curious.
it's kind of what I call, and you're well used to this. I call it the Guitar Hero chat, where there's so much stuff scrolling up the side of the screen. It's like I can't even. So the last time we had you on, what was going on with you? You were, I think, celebrating being kind of like done with Scott Pilgrim for a while, and you were kind of entertaining other projects. Oh, you were pushing Snot Girl. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah, probably because it was probably right when the last issue or the trade was coming out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we haven't had another issue since then.
Really?
But we have been working on them slowly, but yeah, we're about to announce more soon.
Oh, very cool, very cool. And that was a really great image series. Now, did that get collected in any kind of like micro trades or anything like that, or are you just still at floppies with Snot Girl?
What do you mean? Oh no, we have trades. We have them right here. I've been working on it, so I got them right here.
right on hand. That's what's up.
Yeah, here's the most recent one. It's got the nice foil. You probably can't tell.
Oh, hold on. I'll biggerize it. Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
When did that drop?
I believe May of 2020. So it's probably right around the time we did that.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And maybe the elephant in the room, Brian, is that you had a little project that just dropped a little while ago on Netflix. Perhaps you've heard of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I've barely come out of my hole since then, so it's like I feel like being on Netflix has probably raised my profile a little bit. But it's all been really good. It's all been a really good experience, and the post release has been pretty good. So yeah, I don't know. I'm sure I could talk about it for an hour if we had to.
Yeah.
It was a really interesting like back to school kind of experience, just to kind of go into another medium and be plugged into every department, and it was just it was really cool. I had the time of my life.
So a really kind of not super inside baseball thing is once in a while I'd reach out to you and we have like quick conversations. and you would say things like, "I'm drawing a lot. I'm drawing right now. Can't talk, drawing."
I mean, that must have been earlier this or late last year, early this year. Yeah, after the show wrapped up, I've been drawing a lot. While the show was working, I shockingly I barely drew at all. At one point, I turned on my scanner and I hadn't turned it on in like a year. And that has never happened in my life. Yeah,
Oh, that's fantastic. Is that like one of the things where you lift the lid and you're like, what? What is that? I don't even remember scanning that. What is that?
It's like dusty, old ass drawing in there. Yeah, no, just like when I got into the thick of it on the show, like it just felt like it took up my entire brain. Like I had no free energy for drawing like whatsoever. Like I would draw little sketches for them, but it was mostly just on the computer. Like it wasn't like cartooning. And then people now are like asking me, like, if even my art dealer was like, "So when did you draw this poster?" And I was like, "I didn't draw anything for this show." Like other people just learned how to draw like me really well. Like they're more talented than I am, so they can kind of like simulate me and make it look better. So it's nice.
Well, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I was going to say that must be a very different creative process than working on a film, live action film, because a live action film, there's going to be so many changes and differences because it's live action opposed to animation, which is actually more like what you do, more like your style. And I remember touching on the fact that you were saying about people learning to draw like you. I remember there's the Art of Atlantis book. And I remember because Mike Mignola did the pre-production.
Yeah, right.
And they actually had Disney did a like how to draw like Mike Mignola thing. So I'm assuming that's what they sort of did too. They went through and like how to draw like Bryan, right? Like how to draw your style.
I could probably find the files for those. Yeah, the designer, his first kind of few rounds, I could see him like the first round he was kind of just copying the books, but not just from the first book, from the second book, from the last book, like going all over the place, finding the style. And then the next couple rounds, like you could see him homing in on it, and you could see like little diagrams to the side, like here's how he does hands, here's how he does wrists. Like it was just like so much attention to detail. Yeah, it was really cool to see that happen.
Now, and because of that, did you learn something about like how you? Because I mean, a lot of
learning about my own style, you mean?
Yeah, because a lot of what we do is instinct. We're not thinking like, well, this is how I draw a head. This is how I draw.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. Like I feel like I understand. At least I understand how to draw a Scott Pilgrim better than I ever have before in my life. Like it was just for me, it's just like a blueprint or like a set of it's like instructions. It's like the old like computer programming in BASIC or something. It's just like draw a line here, draw a line here. Like that's just what Scott Pilgrim is to me. It's like the most minimal storage in my head is just like the set of instructions on how to draw him. And now it's like, oh, his head is like a circle here, a circle. Like, oh, I never like really deconstructed it to that degree because I was like 24 when I first started drawing those books, and I was bad at drawing.
Did you reverse engineer anything in your art process with Scott Pilgrim after looking at the dailies and all of the anime stuff? Where you're like, oh wow!
I mean, you see look at my desk behind me. I have the reference from the fucking anime on my desk, so I can draw my own character. Because it's so helpful. I never did that for myself. So right. I mean, to be fair, this was I was trying to draw something that resembled the anime more than my own stuff. Usually, I don't care that much, but I've been trying to use a lot more reference lately, and it's just because I just forget. It's been 20 years. I don't know what these characters all. I don't know what the belt looked like on Ramona, but like the fan will know. So right. Better get it right.
Did you ever do anything at the very early stages of doing the graphic novels? Like, did you ever do model sheets or turnarounds for any of it? Or maybe even like the police lineup of the characters? For heights. Yeah. Not a ton. Like a lot of it is reprinted in the Scott Pilgrim in the back of the color editions, but
like when I was a kid, I would draw this type of stuff, like the character, like because I saw it in anime art books or what. I got a New Type magazine or whatever.
Yeah.
So when I was like 16, 17, I would be drawing these for characters, and then of course, like I would never get anywhere with the comic itself. Like I would just be kind of spending all my time kind of like imagining character designs and like doing elaborate, beautiful things like that. So I've tended to focus on that a lot less during Scott Pilgrim because I was just focused on completion, just make books, don't worry about it. That did serve me well. I think it was a good ethos.
Well,
But, yeah, now I do all kinds of stuff. I'm doing all kinds of stupid, wasteful, time wasting, but interesting stuff. But who cares? I'm fine.
I was going to say one of the other things I about animation is that in comics, there's a lot of abstraction and you sort of build it as you go. But in animation, it has to all be built before it can go. So like the backgrounds, the world building in animation is always much more complete than most cartoonists do because we sort of invent it to a degree or cheat it, right?
Yeah.
You can cheat in a comic in a way that you can't because you've got 10 people working on a background and everybody has to be able to reference.
Right, like in a comic, I would just write like they're in a movie studio, and then you would just draw kind of like noodly movie studio backgrounds and call it a day. But for this, we wrote that into the script because they go to a movie studio for 2 episodes, and the first thing that we saw was like a immense 3D model of an entire movie studio that they built, like because they were planning this elaborate final shot that's like a huge long tracking shot and then a huge chase scene all through the studio. So they just built the whole thing because it's like that's just how they think and how it has to be. So the ambition, I probably would have written it differently if I'd realized like how difficult and crazy some of the stuff is, like because it's not necessarily the things that you would think were hard from doing comics.
I had a question about just the beginning of the production on the anime and NDAs aside and all that kind of stuff. A lot of this stuff is like germinating way before the fans even know it's going to exist. So there's a great question in the chat that I'll lead this into. Our new buddy, Cartoonist Jack, says, "Hey, Brian, what did the workday look like for you while you were making the new show? What was the most challenging thing you had to do?" Good question.
The workday was just it was always different, which suits me well. Like I just I get bored easily, even though I draw comics. But so it was just different challenges all the time. And the hardest thing, Cartoonist Jack is a regular follower of my Twitch and stuff. So he's a cartoonist himself. So shout out to Jack. The hardest thing was honestly just sitting on my ass watching anime all day because I had to watch the show over and over and over and over.
Wow.
And like I've just like developed like hip pain like from having to just sit and watch the show over and over.
Right.
Like with the comic, I read my graphic novels over and over. I get the idea, I get the process, but like gluing your eyes and watching an anime over and over is more taxing than I would have imagined.
So did you have kind of like maybe daily or weekly check-ins, like you were going over dailies or anything like that, or there's kind of like key things you have to weigh in on, or did they kind of were you separate in some of those things?
At first it seemed like we were going to be completely cut off from everything. Like that was kind of the pitch. It was just like Science Star is going to do their thing. You'll see it like maybe twice and it'll be done. And then in reality, like we got closer, we became more friendly with them, and they were sharing stuff every week. So we would see like when we got into the thick of it, we would be seeing like a whole pass on a certain episode or a couple episodes a week. And then rougher versions of some things, tighter versions of some things, and you'd be trying to kind of like keep it all straight in your head, make sure the story's working, make sure the emotions are landing, make sure the colors are right. Like for me, it's like the character designs is like every single thing, but it's like 4-dimensional, and there's just so many moving parts. And then there's the fact that someone draws every frame, right? Like it's not like a computer. Like these are all human artists who I have to take their feelings into consideration. Can't just tell them to do it over a million times. So it's like, you know, if it's good enough, we got to move on. Like it's stuff like that. So yeah, it was all very interesting. It was all very like enormously taxing on my head.
I was going to ask about that. Like it must have been a lot of letting go, you know, compared to having so much control over your world, and now just, you know, sending out these instructions.
Yeah, I mean the whole process. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I already went through with the movie, but in this I was like more hands-on because I'm the producer, so I could have probably made everything like a point of contention if I wanted to. But yeah, it was very much like, what can these guys do? What can these collaborators get up to and bring to the table? And they're so talented. Like they're top of the world. Like so everything they brought to it was just incredible. And then they just have a very kind of like defined process in Japan of doing all this stuff, which I was on the outside because I'm over here just hearing about it on Zoom and stuff. But it's just you know, it's really cool. It's really methodical. And you know, there's this one role on the show, I don't remember what the title is, but like basically this one guy, his job was to make sure the final art looks like the designs, like the books basically. And just like he would be redrawing faces, like, and just like he was like the you know, the editor-in-chief of the drawings, like, and he would just be kind of like correcting everything, because sometimes it would come in and it would look more like that person's style, or the proportions would be off or whatever. And it's just obviously that's going to happen, right? If I drew my own characters a million times, like the proportions were constantly off. So yeah, we have this one guy who's like the cop, who's like keeping everything perfect. And yeah, like that, hats off to that guy.
That's like, he was like king quality control.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's the thing. If you develop your eye, you can actually tell when different animators are animating from scene to scene.
Yeah.
Even though it's supposed to look like one, it's supposed to look like you or whoever the character designer is. But everybody, you know, it's organic, it's not a computer. And there are differences. And when you study character animation, you really get to see, because they basically give scenes to certain animators based upon what their particular strengths are. Like some people are really good, especially in Japan, at like doing all the mecha and doing all the machine stuff, right? And then other people are good at doing like cute girls or explosions or whatever.
Yeah, and then the whole system is very much key to that. Like each episode was assigned a different director, and then that director storyboards the whole episode. So yeah, they got the guy who's really good at emotional stuff to do episode 3, which is like the girl episode, and then you know, the guy who's really good at motion did like the skateboarding episode, like where it's all these bodies contorting, and you know, so then they would draw like, you know, 500 pages of storyboards and come back 6 weeks later, and you know, it's like each kind of like tier in the hierarchy was like given so much autonomy over there. It's really, really interesting. You know, these director guys have kind of like risen to that point in their work, and like they can achieve it. But it's a lot of work to storyboard a whole episode in 6 weeks. Like I would
that's wild.
Balk at that. Yeah,
it's a lot of I having done storyboards, it was definitely the hardest job of any job I've had, because it requires so many different disciplines on top of just being able to produce a lot of drawing.
Yeah, it's like it's an Olympic level sport at the same time. Yeah.
I had a question about the quality control guy. I'm very intrigued by this.
Yeah, I wish I could remember his name.
So, kind of inside of his role, did you have more kind of one-on-one meetings with him for him to?
No, I never met with him. Not even once. I don't even. That's why I don't remember his name, because like the whole thing was pretty opaque to me. Like in terms of, they would just do the work and we would get it. Like we would get the designs, we would get all kinds of stuff, and then we would just start getting boards and animation, and no one, you know, I only inferred who each episode director was because maybe their names would be on the, like they would have signed the front page or something because they did the whole storyboard. And obviously their styles are recognizable. And then once the animation starts coming in, I don't know who did what frame. I can kind of tell like when the director did it because I recognize his style.
Yeah.
Certain animators I could start to identify over time. But yeah, then when the show came out, I realized there's a whole subculture of fans who are like super keyed into that. They know what each episode director's name is, and like they know what their style is. Like they go from show to show following these guys. It's really interesting.
Yeah, there is kind of like a cartooning kind of clatch almost. Like you have a bunch of buddies in animation, and they kind of like see the same guys on different jobs, you know, and they kind of migrate together a little bit. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
I had another question about this, maybe a little aside from the anime. Since you've had Scott Pilgrim in so many different kind of mediums, which I think is pretty amazing. I don't know how often you sit back and go, "Holy shit!" I've had like this come up a couple of different ways. Are there any differences? Maybe even just like Steve had talked about, maybe your control or having to let things go from the movie or the video game or the anime, or was there anything that was a little that caught you off guard by how much or little input you had to it?
I don't know. I don't think I really had, first of all, like when the movie was happening, I just didn't have it in my head that it was real. Like I was just kind of, oh, sure, someone's making a movie. Sure. This British guy's going to make a movie. All right, whatever. It didn't seem realistic. And then it just gradually kind of snowballed into being real. And at that point, like I already knew Edgar, the director, and I was just like, you know, his work's amazing. He's a genius. So just, you know, do your thing. I don't know anything about making movies. Like since then, I've read a lot, I've learned a lot, and listened to a lot of DVD commentaries and stuff. Like I know way more about movies now.
Right.
But at the time, I was just like, I was clueless. I wouldn't have wanted to comment on almost anything. And they were very devoted to the books at the same time, which I wouldn't have expected. I would have expected them to shit all over the books. Because that's kind of that was how things went in the 2000s for comic adaptations, right? Like or game adaptations. Like they're all just you know, some screenwriter has a kooky idea and they just graft it onto this thing with like a aesthetic lifted from the comic just a little bit or whatever. Right. Edgar took it in a whole different direction where he just made this like beautiful strange kind of like direct adaptation. And yeah, so at that point, you just have to trust that you're working with artists and that they got their own stuff to bring to it.
So you're not going to read like, well, we're going to make a Superman movie, but he's never going to be in the costume. You know? You're going to make a Scott Pilgrim movie. You never see Scott Pilgrim.
Right. Well, that's like what we did. But I mean, yeah, it's just... yeah, that kind of thing is what I was basically anticipating. Like when I thought the movie wasn't real, when it was 2006 or whatever, and I'm just like, all right. I mean, Sin City was kind of cool, right? Like maybe we have a chance. Like so that was about it. But now since then, obviously, the world has totally turned upside down in so many ways, and now it's like the fans expect like this super direct adaptation, like this slavish adherence to the art style, and that just is kind of like what the companies are starting to feed these people. So it's like when we did this anime, I was like, let's just let it be what it is, and let's just bring our own fresh ideas to it. So I mean, it's very different from the comic.
Have you ever been dinged by your fans? Because I just had this thought about like I'll use the fandom. I'll talk about Ghostbusters for a second. Like there's some really like dyed in the wool Ghostbusters cats who are like, well, wait a minute, that dial that's supposed to be on the neutron wand is in the neutrino wand's in the wrong place. You know, like the comic book Ghostbusters. I remember those dudes went through a lot of hell with the fans because they didn't draw Egon with the hair, with the cinnamon roll right or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever had anybody who was like, well, wait a minute, that's not how you draw Scott Pilgrim to you, or anybody trying to course correct you?
Yeah, I've definitely had some. Because I mean, my art style's never been consistent. So there's that. And then with the show, we were trying to intentionally avoid that direct comparison thing. That's why we made the show so different, or part of why.
Right.
because it's just like, I don't want you to compare it to the panels in the comic and see if I did a better job. Like, I drew those 20 years ago, and I was drawing them really, really fast for $600 or something. Like, it wasn't,
Mhm.
you know, it wasn't intended for archival purposes. So, you know, and now it's like 20th anniversary this year, so we're putting out, you know, these beautiful editions of the books, and now that's the intention.
Yeah. And I've seen some mock-ups of those. They look fantastic. I'm very
Oh, yeah,
excited.
they're coming together. They're off to the printer, actually. I have my fingers crossed. It's like one of those like insanely complicated, and you don't know what it's going to look like until it is built and in your hands. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Steve, I started a bunch of questions. You want to ask any questions?
Yeah, I was like that. So that time when you were focusing on the show and co-show running it, was that the proper way of calling it? The co-show running?
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you itching to get back to the drawing board? Did you have a notebook that was just brimming with all the stuff that you could squeeze in when you weren't forced to watch dailies?
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, because I was just like so full in the brain. It just like there was no extra juice, like no ideas. I had other stuff I was wanted to be working on, but I just, even if I had time, once in a while, like I had a gap of a few weeks over the summer, and I was able to write a bunch of stuff then. But yeah, I was just like so. Every second, I would be thinking about something on the show, because it was like there's sound and music and all the actors and all the timing and all these new things I was learning about that I had never done before. Plus all the interpersonal stuff, which as a producer, like that's my responsibility too, which is not something I'm used to.
Right.
Just like resolving arguments and stuff like that. Like, so that was, you know, its own challenge too.
That's lovely. We've got a question here from, I want to say I get this right, Jacob's Animations from YouTube. Hi, Brian. I have a question. Do you have any tips on making compelling characters? I'm a massive fan of your work, and thanks for everything.
I've been thinking about that a lot, actually, making compelling characters. I think part of what does it for me is like they have to contain kind of contradictions. Like, I like characters that kind of are just can be multiple things, maybe with multiple people, or like or they just have some inherent contradiction to them that just makes them stick in your head, like where it's not just a straightforward, you know, I don't know, maybe I'm deathly afraid of cliches or something, but you know, or even like with Scott Pilgrim, why is he dating a high schooler? There's no reason for that, but it does stick in your head. So yeah, I don't know. If that answers the question at all, I don't know. That's kind of from a writing perspective. From a design perspective, there's millions of things to consider, but it just really depends on what kind of shapes you like to draw.
So how does it start for you? Does it start first with the idea of the character and writing, or does it start with the idea of the character and drawing, and then out of the sketch, and then out of that comes the writing? Because I like what you were saying, is that it gives an extra depth to the character if they can be a dick, but also can do nice things, because we know people. We have friends that are like that, right? That like they're good with this, not so good with that other thing, and it doesn't make them such a cardboard cutout.
Yeah. The people are just kind of unpredictable, and there's always sides you can't see. So you know, yeah. But in terms of writing and drawing, yeah, I always have trouble finding that split, but I think it comes from both places for me. I'm always just thinking of ideas, and then sketch something, and then think of more ideas, and you know, probably more writing, especially as I'm older. I don't like immediately draw quite as much as I used to. I'll write more first these days.
Have there been characters that you created and thought you were going to use that you just said, like, now it doesn't fit in, or I'm going to take pieces and stitch onto other?
Yeah, I think so. And then also characters end up being kind of like reflections of other characters in a way, like a weird sequel to the character or something like that. but yeah, there's a few characters that got cut from Scott Pilgrim, and then there's other stuff that I developed along the way that never went anywhere. That those characters just kind of like poof out of my mind. I mean, and for Scott Pilgrim, like I don't know. There's a weird thing about like bringing the characters to life for me, like where it's like once the books were done, like those characters stopped kind of like being alive in my mind, but the fans kind of kept it alive. And maybe like the movie performances and all that stuff kind of like, I don't know, it existed outside of me more. So like when it was time to kind of revisit those characters, it was like, I don't know, it's just somehow it just sort of like came back to life. And that hadn't happened in over a decade. So I was just like, oh, they're back. So that was nice. Even though I didn't draw it, like I was just writing it, but like the writing, I was like, oh, this feels right.
That's fantastic. There's a side loaded question in the chat that I want to get to. Billy Bob, what up, Billy Bob? Says, hi everyone. I had a question. All of Bryan's work includes such cool outfits and fashion, and I was wondering how he goes about making those outfits for so many different characters. Great question, Billy Bob.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've always been people always mention it, I guess. I like I don't know, I like looking at girls, so that's where it starts for me. I don't know, so I like the shapes, and I like I don't know, I got interested in fashion while doing Scott Pilgrim, really, and just sort of was paying attention to stuff like that. And I was paying attention to fashion blogs, and that's what kind of spurred us writing Snot Girl, because me and Leslie were both kind of fascinated by the world of fashion bloggers, which evolved into sort of like Instagram influencers and stuff like that. So now it's very diffuse. Like I don't really know. I mean, I've been wondering the same thing. Like, where do I find fashion that feels like young people wear it now? That's not just like being shoved down our throats by some big company. But then at the same, maybe that is what it is that kids are wearing. I don't know. Yeah. So and just just keeping track of what the shapes are, because the shapes are constantly evolving. Now we're back to big pants, which I like personally. I'm all for the big pants. Skinny jeans were not really my favorite. So yeah, I don't know. I just pay attention to people and fashion, I guess.
How do you feel about? Have you seen any of these TikToks or these reels with the like man on the street reporting, and these kids are interviewing people who have the craziest outfits on? It's like even beyond street fashion. It's kind of like, yo, let's register the fit. What you got? I've got giant fur Minecraft boots. Ka-ching, $3,000.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like the rules all went out the window, like in the last decade. Like and it's like you can do whatever aesthetic you want. You can import whatever decade you want, or like you can dress like an anime character all day if you want. Like, so people kind of apply the rules of character design to themselves now, and you kind of have to look at it that way. But I'm sure many people are just wearing a shirt and pants too. So that's can't forget about that.
So how much time in your day do you have to devote to your, your and budget to devote to your fashion aesthetic? Unless you're like on Instagram getting people to like, oh, you want to go to my Amazon, want list and buy me these pair of $9,000 UGG boots,
Yeah, and it's also like entwined with the sales, like with here's a coupon for this, and I got sponsored for this, so you should go buy this, and like it's a real mess. So I don't like looking at that world as much as I used to.
Will that affect when you go back to do more Snot Girl?
Well, I don't draw Snot Girl, so that's Leslie's problem.
You almost got Mike. That was fantastic.
She keeps up with the fashion more than I do anyway, so that's good for her. She loves like tracing the micro trends. She loves to like draw those, and then I'll write like some line that's like a meme that lasted for 30 seconds, and like now when I read back Snot Girl, like it's a really cool time capsule of like everything from the last decade or so.
If you just keep all your fashion, you just keep it, you just cycle through like every 30 years, everything just comes right back again,
Yeah, honestly, your shirt is back in style, Mike. I think a teenager would wear that shirt for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Well, there was that big thing where the bowling shirts came back, and then all went away. All all the Hawaiian shirts, all the bowling shirts, all went away. And then what? Every 10, they'll just bring it. They'll just bring it back. I mean, the stripes are going this way, and then they're going this way, and then they're like fat, and then they're skinny. You can only do so much with a stripe,
Well, I got to give Brian a shout out because he's part of the Bucket Brigade. I've seen him in public rocking a bucket hat. So,
yeah, I mean, I have a really big head. I don't know. You look like you have a pretty big head too. Yeah.
Yes,
so like, I had to buy hats from like a special website that sells like big heads. So.
Yo, I have a coupon. I'll send it to you. I have a digital coupon for the bighead.com. Yeah.
But my wife went on there and bought me like every color they had or something. Like, so I have like a whole pile of them. But last year I was wearing hats all the time while making the anime. I don't know, for whatever reason, I was just like, I don't wear hats while I sit in the studio.
Somebody in the chat early on was asking about your hair color because I know you've changed it a couple of times lately.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't dyed my hair like since I was 20 years old or something. But yeah, a few months ago, I was just like, I'll do it for the show. Like we had a premiere, we had New York ComiCon, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's just do it. And I think I did blue first. The blue looked really good. I had like buzz cut my hair like a year before just to try it. I'd never done that before. Because it's starting to go a little bit, and just wanted to see what's under there.
Yeah.
But
I like the buzz cut on me, so I've been rocking that lately. It's grown out a little bit, but
this is what's under there right here. This is
we'll get there. We'll catch up. Yeah, it's been good. But yeah, I'm gonna stick to black hair for now. It came in like black, and I was like, oh, it's not. And now I'm used to looking at my beard, which turned gray like in the last 4 years.
You didn't get the Reed Richards at all? You don't have any of that going on?
I had like a little bit, like the Doctor Strange thing. But then it just turned white like real fast, like in 2020.
And I have some aging questions. Just, that's where we're at. I'm sorry. Do you see over the last couple of years, like there's a point where you're like, oh shit, I have a gray hair, to like, what happened? Like, you feel like there was, I think the pandemic kind of aged us like 5 years.
Yeah, I think it aged everyone.
Yeah.
My wife keeps saying like little kids look really old right now. Maybe that's just her prejudice, but
that's fantastic.
The white beard, like in 20, I have pictures from 2019, like full black beard.
Right.
It's just like it happened seemingly overnight. Yeah.
That's so funny. Have you seen any of those images that have been all over the internet with like the official cast age from those old 80s shows, like the cast of Cheers?
Oh yeah,
Coach is 30 years old and he looks like
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
70. I think
Alice was 28.
The Golden Girls.
Yeah, the Golden Girls are all 20 years old. It's crazy. I think the 80s just aged us. There was a good question in here I wanted to ask. And this one's right at the top. Arsenic, hello Arsenic, says, Brian, do you do commissions? I love your art.
I don't really do commissions. I have in the past, and like a long time ago, and I'm too slow, and and it just weighs on my head, and I get in my head about it, and so I generally have not done commissions for a long time. I'm always telling Felix, my art dealer, that I might open up commissions one of these days. Maybe it's just a carrot for Felix, but I like the idea of doing some commissions, but then the problem is that I'm popular, and I hate disappointing people. So it's like I don't want to do like 10 commissions and then have 2,000 people mad at me because I didn't write their name. So that just creates like an internal dilemma for me. So I don't know. Maybe at some point but then it would just be like high rollers. Like what are you gonna do? Like that's just, what other form of lottery is there? I don't know. And
I guess with the last maybe decade of your career, it's probably had to change your public output. Like I recall, was it maybe last summer I saw you at, maybe was it San Diego? Did you go to San Diego last summer? Or
yeah, I was Yeah, I think I saw you there.
Yeah, I saw, or you were signing Funko Pops or something like that. So,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, are you doing more of, if you're going to be at a thing, you do it like a helicopter drop in on a ladder, sign things and get out of there?
It's kind of been that way. I mean, I always try to like linger and talk to people and stuff. Sometimes it's been tricky.
Yeah.
But like I went to SCAD a couple weeks ago for this conference thing, and after our little panel, like I stopped. I like told the security guys, I was like, okay, we got to stop here and like make a line and do this, because it's like people want to say hi, people want a selfie, whatever. Like, so yeah, so I was able to kind of like make 10 minutes to do that, but they wanted to hustle me out. Like, that's just their job.
They throw a coat over your head and hustle you out the back door.
Well, yeah, like, make everyone stop and like get me out, and then everyone can like unfreeze and go. But it's like, no, it's just, they're just kids. Like, let's just hang out.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a weird thing, just to kind of like, you're there for the people, and then it's kind of like, if somebody's not at the back of the line holding a sign saying I'm the last person, it's kind of like, guys, I gotta pee. Sorry, but
yeah, I mean, ComiCon last year, when you saw me, it was like that. Like, we had to have like the person at the end, and it was like everything is like snaking around the aisles. Like, it's very security has gotten a lot more strict there with that kind of stuff. So this year we'll see. I mean, we have the 20th anniversary, so I think I might end up being like a a guest this year or something, which I haven't been in a long time. So I don't know. I don't know how they'll treat me or handle me, but I just try to show up and do a good job and be nice to people, and try not to get in the way of anything else.
Well, talking about 20 years and art, we got a question here from Surface Level on YouTube. Have you thought about compiling an art book?
What a great question.
I mean, I don't have enough material for an art book, is the first thing I would say. Like, we have compiled extras and sketches and stuff for Scott Pilgrim, and just now I've been working on like a portfolio set, but where we have like 20, it was like hard to scrounge together 20 pages for this portfolio set. So and that's like all. Like, I don't illustrate that much, so outside of like developmental stuff, it's just like I don't really have anything interesting to show. So most of my work has gone into comics. So yeah, I would say like we're doing as much as we can for the 20th anniversary, but there's no art book. Just there is going to be like a collected extras book that's like 200 plus pages of all the stuff that's not comics, that's Scott Pilgrim related. So that'll be really nice to have. But
200 pages that's not comics related. Wow.
Yeah, but it was all basically in the back. Like, if you in the back of these color editions, there would be like short stories and sketchbook pages. I can't find the sketchbook pages now. Just all this bonus stuff. Yeah, there we go. So we put all that stuff into its own book and added more of it, because that was 10 years ago now. So the new one will have it'll have its own book that's like about 220, 230 pages of cool stuff. It's fun. I like seeing it all together.
We were talking right before we went on, and you were showing some of your tools, and I'm sure that there's budding cartoonists who want to know what magic pencil. I'm sure you must have a couple magic pencils and brushes. So you were talking about what you had the brush you just gotten, and some of the leads and things like that.
Oops. Yeah, let me just grab some stuff here. Oh, this is a good one.
And I'll biggerize you when you put them up to the screen.
Maybe I'll just move my camera, actually.
I'll embiggen you. All right.
Maybe that'll be easier. Okay.
Yeah, nice.
There's some stuff. So this is This is my new. It's got such a tilt to it right now. Sorry, I didn't clean it very well.
You hang it to the left, bro.
Yeah, that's just a number 8 brush that I picked up just for fucking around.
Yeah.
I always liked using a big brush. My normal brush lately is this one, which is a number 3. They're both Rosemary and Co. Series 33. These I've been using like since Scott Pilgrim days. So this brush I've had since 2005. I want to say.
Wow.
This is my old number 8 brush. Oh, it's not focusing.
Wow.
So yeah, I just bought this one in Toronto years ago. It's synthetic. I never thought it would last this long. It has a slight little grip right here. Maybe that's part of why I like it. It's not the best, but I've just had it forever. These I've been using a lot lately. The Zig Mangaka Flexible.
Do they don't dry up too quick, do they? I know some of those guys have like a short shelf.
Yeah, these are a bit better than some of the other ones. I also really like the Tombow ones. I just keep reaching for this one lately.
Yeah.
It's pretty fine, but it has more flexibility than some other brands. This is the ink I usually use. It's got a little BTS sticker on it. Kohinoor black with the yellow label. That's basically what I use. Use the lid to like squirt more. I have like multiple jars, and I'll squirt more into this one because I use this one as my main. This is the whiteout. That's like the best whiteout in the world.
Oh wow! I don't think
you guys don't know this one.
No.
It's like it makes every other whiteout look like dog shit. So I highly recommend it. Yeah, it's on jetpens.com.
Oh, JetPens. That's the home team right there. Yeah,
yeah, JetPens is my they're my people. I mean, I don't think they know who I am, but I know who they are.
Very cool. That was cool. So maybe if you could maybe tell some people who don't understand why you wrap your brushes.
Oh yeah, it's just because of my my grip, I guess. It's the more you. Why am I so dark now? The more you draw, it wears on your hand, and if you're drawing for long hours, it just helps to have like a padded grip of some kind. So I just wrap them in tape. I used to buy like pencil pillows and whatever they would call them. I find them really hard to find nowadays, maybe because kids don't use pencils anymore. And so I just wrap tape. Actually, I put some Kleenex in this one to make it softer. I don't know if it's but yeah, it just helps to have a bigger grip for me. Same with my Cintiq. Like I bought this special fat cobra snake kind of like head thing for it.
Yeah. How has there ever been a point in we haven't talked about war injuries in a long time.
Oh yeah.
What's kind of like the worst hand blister you got from a session? Like
I don't really get blisters. I just get or like for me, like it's this area kind of like gets really poofed up.
Yeah.
My wife looks at my hands and she's like, "What?" Like she's just horrified. But that's just part of it. So yeah, like massaging that. Like the thumb has been really bad for me lately. Like this line right here. My wrists used to bother me a lot. I think I've gotten a lot better with that. Although I do have this like huge pain like right here, like middle of my arm. I think there's like a knot there.
Mike is nodding like, yeah.
you got Tetsuo arm.
Yeah, everywhere. It's just like knots. Yeah, it's
Now, do you find that you get it more penciling or inking?
Inking's harder, I think, just because of the control. I'm doing most of my penciling digital, so maybe that helps. I think digital is generally a little easier. It just is not as good. So, I prefer to get the inks out when I can. And inking, it's been tough. I'm still kind of building my strength back. I haven't been inking seriously for a number of years, but I did ink a lot the last few months. I drew probably 50 or 60 drawings for this Scott Pilgrim thing.
Speaking of tech stuff, what is your digital loadout? Are you kind of like an iPad guy or a Wacom Cintiq old school guy, or what are you kind of using digitally
yeah,
right now?
Just the Cintiq. Like I just have my Cintiq right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just go from Cintiq to printer to desk to scanner essentially, and back to Photoshop, and it's all Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
I don't use any of the other programs. I've never got into CSP or any of those alternatives. Photoshop is really annoying now.
Yeah.
I mean, it always was, but now it's like it's so draconian. It's really crazy. You know, it's like it has to be you're like streaming it off their server or something. Like, you don't even get to like own your own Photoshop anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy. You have to put a drop of your blood in a
Yeah,
in a vessel
yeah.
to make it work. So you know, we have these conversations once in a while with kind of younger cartoonists about getting addicted to your technology and as a detriment to your workflow. Like if you just got to get another brush pack. I just got to get this one thing. And how do you feel about that? I'm sure you have like maybe a custom brush or a couple of different custom things you've made, or you kind of rely on digitally.
Yeah, I've made a few. I feel so dark now. I don't know. I tend to gravitate towards the brushes that look the worst in Photoshop. I like to look like kind of damaged and not too slick.
Mm-hmm.
So I found like one decent inking brush, but I don't keep up with it. Like I download a pack like every 5 years, and I'm just like still going through them. You know, I got some like grain shaders a couple of years ago that I'm still enjoying, and some you know, random stuff like that. So it's not really. I don't do a lot of finishes on Photoshop. I've done a little bit more, especially since I found that one ink brush. I don't know what the ink brush is from, but maybe I can see actually.
Did they share any brushes or anything from you with the studio overseas? Like
with animes? No, not at all. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what they use. Like, I don't even know what programs they use. Like, and then they did this thing where. I think the whole thing is probably drawn in Flash or something similar, but then they have this tech that kind of applies a line to it at the end. So they would do this like beautiful rough line treatment to it just at the very end. Like, so it would turn from this like clean kind of like Flash look into, you know, similar to what I would do in digital, which is nice.
Yeah, I love that.
I had a question for you. Now, since you've worked on the comic, and then you worked on the movie, and then you saw your creative process interpreted by multiple people, but in live action, and then you go back to working in animation, but then you also kind of change the point of view of the animation and the focus on the characters. Was that a conscious decision to do it that way? And then again, you're having so many other people work on it. I mean, at a certain point, I've talked to a couple of other people that have gone and had things made. Is it harder to let something go as a drawing than a scene where you feel like maybe that's not what I would have done as the director, or maybe I don't feel that the character is quite the same? You know what I mean? When you're seeing an actor do it as opposed to a drawing and a voice actor.
Right. Wait, what's the fine distinction you're asking about? Was
it harder or different because it was animation and closer to what you do, even though you've changed the point of view and you're focusing more on Fiona as opposed to
than on live action? Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of changes that you did because you don't want to just repeat the same, you know.
Right. Or
story
there's
exact-
changes because we wanted it to be tailored to the medium, right? Like I don't want to. Animation can do fights and stuff in a totally different way than a comic or than a live action movie. So that was kind of the biggest impetus, was just like, how do we tailor this to the medium and tell the story in a way that is fun in this medium, and that allows for all these different viewpoints of all the animators and things. In terms of letting go, like I don't know. I don't think it's really that different. Like in the movie, it's like they had done so much prep. Like the characters were all dressed so perfectly, and the sets were designed so perfectly. Like, you know, there's stuff in Wallace's kitchen drawers and stuff. Like it's just like the world was there, so they could just kind of play within it. And then the finished product ultimately for me is like just part of it. Like, because I was there and I saw different takes and I saw different everything. So I just kind of lived in that world for the better part of a year. And the end product is the end product. With this anime, like I was wallowing in every single decision, every frame, every like background element. Like, so, you know, I had to like actively sign off on every single thing. So that's a very different experience. And, you know, there's definitely a lot of compromise, but you go into it with that mindset, or at least I did, where it's just like, I'm open to whatever these guys bring me. I hope it's better. I hope it's not worse than what I would do, and that's all I can really do.
Right. Because I also know that every show that I worked on, you would get stuff back and you would look at it, and sometimes it's great, and then sometimes something would be off or interpreted strangely, and so they would call for a retake. But there was only so many retakes you could do per show.
Yes. Yeah.
So I guess that's something too that the average fan doesn't actually know.
Yeah.
Over the course of a movie, right? There's only, or the series, there might have been many things that you would, given your heart of hearts, would want to change, but you have to weigh this change against this change.
Yeah, and also it's TV, so it's like once we wrapped the first episode, like it's done. We're not touching it. We're never going to go back and change anything. Even though we learned so much in the subsequent episodes, we would have gone back and changed like every single thing in the first episode, but it was just locked. It was just over. So, you know, there's stuff like when people were watching the first episode and complaining about stuff, I mean, fans are going to complain about everything, but I mean, some of those complaints, I was like, yes, we complain about that too, but it was a fast moving process and we weren't able to fix everything we wanted to fix. So it was a learning curve. We got a lot faster and smarter as we went on. I do think I kind of like leveled up my brain in a lot of ways on this. Just learned how to deal with so many fast moving, complex situations. So
do you think being a cartoonist gave you sorry.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead.
Do you think being a cartoonist gave you any advantages in that atmosphere?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, and being the kind of cartoonist that I am, like where I'm kind of doing every department of the book on my own, that definitely helps. Like just being able to like jump around from thing to thing really helped. Even doing comics, you know, you're writing, you're drawing, you're thumbing, you're going back and forth between all those. So that ability to kind of like task switch really quickly helped. And then yeah, like up to storyboards, like I can look at a storyboard, I can understand a storyboard. It's just like a comic. I get it. And then it was like off the cliff once we started recording, and we had this like grid of every single dialogue in the episode that's like, you know, it's going to be filled with like thousands of things eventually for each episode. And it just started making my head explode. Like,
oh, that's great. All right, Brian, how you feeling? We're about to get you out of here.
Oh, I'm good. Is it already time?
Oh, no, we have some time, but
we can do some more audience stuff.
All right,
yeah,
cool.
we got quite a bit here.
Dark in here.
All right,
it's very moody.
I know. I'm about to light a candle.
Sin City.
All right, hold on, Steve. I'm going to do it. You ready? Ka-chow. It's lightning round. Question Palooza time. So we have a lot of questions. Steve, you want to kind of shake that up?
Sure. I got what I'd like to give some attention to. George Gant creator of Beware of Toddler. Everyone should be reading that. Absolutely.
Good job.
As a question from YouTube, what are some of your favorite subjects to draw for fun?
I basically only draw girls for fun. I don't know. I don't draw lewds or porno or anything like that. I just find like the female figure in fashion interesting, and that's just, if I sit down to draw, that's generally what I'll draw, and it'll generally turn into one of my characters. Like that's just the reason I draw is to do these characters and these stories. So I don't really the only other thing I draw sometimes is like shoes and like I don't know. I just get into stuff like that. But generally, if I'm drawing, it's for a storytelling or storytelling adjacent purpose.
Okay, I have one. Not cool. Connor says, "How do I beat Lucas Lee in the game? I need a Nintendo Power tip."
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. I mean, I played it with like every time I played it has been with like a group of people. So it's just you eventually beat him. Bring some friends, do some couch co-op. It's fun.
This is a really funny image to me, is that somebody's calling and you're on the other end of the line with a Bobby Brown mic on, like, just go to level 6 and go to warp.
Yeah.
That's really funny. All right, Steve, you have the chair.
Yeah. All right, let's go. This one I love. Esteban from YouTube and Colombia asks, hello, Brian. What do you think of the good reception of your work in other parts of the world?
It's pretty amazing. Like, especially Latin America. I've never even been to Latin America, but for some reason, like the books have always done really well there. And I heard the show like did really, really well, like across the board in Latin America. So I guess I have to go do a tour of Latin America one of these days to say thank you. Yeah, I don't know. It's always been there. I went to Spain recently, and I was just like, it's the other side of the world. It's not technically, but and there's fans there, and everywhere I've been for the past how long now? Like 15 years. Like everywhere I go, there's people wanting to talk about Scott Pilgrim. So it's it's huge. It's humbling. It's very it's not what I expected my life to be. Maybe I wanted it on some level. I wanted to be like a famous author or cartoonist or whatever, but it's definitely like it's a strange life, but it's also like everyone I've met has been so nice. Every country I go to, they're just like, it's like chill people like my stuff, so that's very nice. I don't know. It's just it's kind of magical all the time. It's hard to I try not to like overdose on it because people like fucking love me, like, and I could just mainline that. Like I could just go online and be like, I just go live and ask people to like praise me, and they would. Like I wouldn't even have to ask. And so lately I've just been kind of like cutting off the feed a little bit and not trying not to indulge, especially since the show came out, because it's just like it definitely raised the profile. It definitely brought in some younger kids, and I'm still kind of adjusting to that before I get I want to like stream. I was doing Twitch streaming and stuff during the pandemic, and I would like to get back into that. But every time I do it, I feel guilty because I'm like, I should be hanging out with real people in the real world. But I just I never leave my house. So why? Like, what's the difference? I don't know.
Right.
Fantastic.
One thing that I really enjoy about you, and I think people are maybe not shocked because you're a really chill guy, is that you're so even. Right. Yeah. And and there are a lot of people kind of in our business who probably couldn't handle the success that you had. So for you to be such a chill person, I think it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's just who I am. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I worry that is disappointing to people. But I'm Canadian. That's part of it. And maybe it's just my upbringing. I don't know. It's just I don't get super worked up about too much stuff.
Right. I'm sure people think you come out of like a Bentley with a gold cape and a tiger or something like that.
Yeah. No, I mean, people must think I'm loaded and I'm like living this rock star life, and it's really live in this garage and I draw comics. And,
that wrap around your brush is solid gold.
That's right. That's right.
It's very expensive pink masking tape, which is a lot more than regular masking tape.
That's a fingernail emoji right there.
Yeah.
I want to ask this one. This is a good one, and Bandage Art has been asking this all stream. How do you feel about unofficial merch? How do you feel about the bootleggers?
I mean, it's I probably shouldn't even say anything about it. I mean, generally I like it. I love buying fan stuff of other media, so why wouldn't I like seeing it for Scott Pilgrim? The one thing that bugs me sometimes is they're so talented. I'm like, why don't you just work for me? I'm not making that. I could make that officially, and you could sell it. You could,
right?
But I mean, that feels like crossing a line to ask if maybe it's not. Maybe that's normal. Just hit up a fan and be like, hey, do you want these to be official? Because some of them are so good. It's better than I would do, and I'm jealous, to be honest.
I think it was a Scott Pilgrim X-Men mashup. I was like, I swore you did that. And I don't think
someone did. If it's the one I'm thinking, I'm sure there's many, but someone did they kind of traced over my poster with X-Men versions, and that was back in the day. That was a good one.
It was fantastic. So, but also, I guess in the same vein, I guess somebody's got a Redbubble store versus you getting fan art. They're two totally different things.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean the stuff that's straight up bootleg. It's annoying, but what are you going to do? I mean, that's the same as piracy. People are reading my books for free every day, and that's fine. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I did bring this box over. I did have a bunch of
oh, wait a second. I got to put this in.
Fan stuff.
Yeah.
I don't remember where this came from, honestly. I'm sure it'll become evident. This was just sitting nearby. Oh, first of all, here's some tickets for the premiere of the Netflix show that we did. Anyway, this is someone made this VHS box for Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
That's so cool. It has all this text on the back.
Now, did somebody give you that at a show, or did they
yeah, someone just handed it to me. I kind of black out when I do a signing, but then I come home with a pile of stuff, and it's just oh, this is so or here's some of this merch that I was talking about. Look at how beautiful these are.
Oh wow, look at little charms. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
I can't get it to focus, but
no, we can see it. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then their art is so good.
Yo.
Yeah, I mean, it's just some of these kids are so talented. I mean, I say kids, but they're all probably 25 years old.
Oh, that's great.
Do you remember the first time you saw someone else draw your character, the first fan art? Because that's a very specific step, I think, for cartoonists to go through, where you're used to drawing your own stuff, and aspiring to your artistic heroes, but then to have you become that to somebody else is a step in your journey as an artist.
Yeah, to realize that you're on the other side of that. Yeah, it's been pretty. I mean, honestly, I don't remember the first, and I think I was probably more nervous and judgmental about it when I was younger. It was just are you saying you draw better than me? Are you saying you could do this better than I can? I kind of had that attitude because I was not very confident in my drawing. But nowadays it's they are so much more talented than me, and 18 years old.
Yeah,
it's incredible. It's impressive. I wish they could draw Scott Pilgrim, so I wouldn't have to. But I do remember the first cosplay that blew my mind a little more, and that was really early. It was 2005 or something. I remember some girl sent me a photo as Ramona or something, and it was just oh, this is gonna happen. That's crazy. Yeah, now it's every Halloween, I just see hundreds of Ramona posts on Instagram and stuff. It's become kind of a cultural institution.
This is cool, and I was meaning to tell you this. In my neighborhood, Halloween's a giant thing, and I was at the neighbor's house, and we have a lot of teenagers in our neighborhood, and this kid showed up, and the whole Scott Pilgrim layup. He had the whole thing. He had the plum tree shirt. He had the wristbands. I think he had a guitar on his back, and he was just like trick or treat. I was like, holy shit, it's Scott Pilgrim.
That's great.
And he was like, you know who I am? He was so excited that I do. It was great. It was great. And like, those are young fans too. Like, people are discovering your stuff all the time, and that's also got to be a trip for you.
Yeah, the youth thing, you know, really is like a whole different generation now. 20 years younger than me, more than 20 years at this point. I just turned 45, so you know, a lot of them, 18 to 20 is still kind of like seems like the core group of people who are just like gonna get into Scott Pilgrim, and you know, some younger, some older, but like, yeah, that's like, to me, that's like the perfect age. Like, that was the age I got like super into anime, and I was getting involved in like fandom and just kind of taking like my first steps into the world, and like having that kind of like shell of fandom around me was nice.
Yeah. And
oh,
now,
thanks, Jack. I saw you said happy birthday.
And now look at it. All right. So we have a couple more in here, and then we'll cut you loose. This has been a really great episode, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the live stream. Like I said before, this party doesn't stop, y'all. We're here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. EST. Love to see you back. Let me do this one. This is interesting. Zeki T asks, "Can we get a coloring book, please?" Please.
I actually just yeah, we are working on one. It's but it's kind of like a joke. I just wanted to really because like you know, the original Scott Pilgrim is like small, and I was like, what if we just like reprint it the size of a coloring book and just say it's a coloring book? So I mean, it's kind of like a gag gift in my head, but like yeah, I'm still putting work into it. It's still going to be cool.
Can you make it a coloring book that has those pages where you put the water on it and it changes stuff? And I got those as a kid where like you could color it with water, you know?
Yeah, like an activity book. I know that was like one of the things with that book was like I wanted to like include activities, and like I was just like, don't stop reading Scott Pilgrim. Like, there's a recipe, like, you know, stuff like that. So I think it's fun to like, you know, to kind of expand that.
Oh, that's great. All right, let's see what else we have here. We have a bunch, but I'm going to try to wrap this down. So Papano asks, "What's up with Worst World, Brian? You got an update for us?"
I am back writing it. A new version of it's a new version of it that I started writing last year. It's probably the 4th or 5th or 6th version of it. Last time we talked was early pandemic, and I had kind of I started one during the pandemic, and then it flamed out pretty quick because it was too pandemic-y. You know, I was just like thinking about washing my hands too much, and like all that stuff just kind of like it just kind of ruined the story. So I think I have a pretty solid idea right now that's like building on all the ideas. Like, I've just been kind of developing the characters for years and years, and I know them really well. And it was kind of like characters in search of a story kind of thing. I think I found a good one, so we'll see what happens. You know, I don't like to make promises anymore, but I did promise my publisher a book, so I will eventually finish one.
There's an interesting thread there about kind of like your body of work, and it's really funny that for us to even talk about legacies at this point. But like, you know, there's a body of work that you've created over the years. And has there been any part of the process that's gotten easier or not as like brain bleeding for you? Like maybe even scripting is just like not as insurmountable as it used to be over time when you do something new? Has anything changed for you over the years?
I do feel like I said earlier, like something in my brain kind of like got pushed to a new level while doing the show. So now, like coming back from the show to work on like what feels like the most complicated graphic novel of all time, like is it seems like child's play now. So hopefully that's true. But yeah, I do feel like the complexity of the show kind of rewired my brain in a weird way, and I think I'm a little less intimidated by the work of comics, partly because I also, doing the show made me kind of confront like, you know, my legacy or who I am as a cartoonist, and what I can do that people, you know, respond to, where my expertise kind of lies. So I think that kind of helps me focus a little bit on the books too. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
I have another side question. Like, guys, I hope I'm not overloading the chat with questions. Kind of about the age thing, and we didn't touch too much on it because it's not super important for our conversation. About how when you were young, Brian, just kind of creating this stuff and nothing existed. I talked about that at my school visit today. This stuff didn't exist before I made it. Scott Pilgrim didn't exist before you made it. And now that group of people who pick that stuff up are probably somewhere else, and now you have new fans. Like there's a lot of people who just found out that there was manga, there were graphic novels from watching the anime. So it's almost like a flip of it's like a fan flip. How I know that I've read a couple of things about how some people were just kind of like not confused, but they didn't know what they were looking for or what they're going to get with the anime. And I read a couple of things where, not to say that you were having to explain yourself, but you know, context has changed and people's attention spans have changed a lot since you started. Was any of that surprising to you? Like, guys, it's like right in front of your face. Why do I have to explain this?
No, I mean, I think the complaints about the show make sense. Like, because it is kind of like not, it's not this straightforward thing to do with a show. Like, it's definitely a twist. It's definitely like playing with expectations and, you know, being a little pretentious and arty and stuff. It's winning us awards, but I mean, I get why like a certain type of fan would be upset. Like, and if I was a certain age, a certain type of way, like I would probably be upset at myself too. But I think there was this thing I didn't expect, which is that people have an association that anime is a direct adaptation of manga, and that hadn't crossed my mind because I was like, Scott Pilgrim's not manga, so why would they expect? But it's an expectation that I just didn't really process until the thing came out and people kind of responded that way. So my bad. Next time I'll do exact out. I don't know. Honestly, like I just had to do what I had to do, and you know, I am older and figuring my stuff out, and I dragged Scott Pilgrim and the audience into my world, and that just ultimately was my prerogative.
Let me ask you a question here, because we always talk about artists and creators' journey. When you're young, you're younger, and you struggle, and then you finish a product, you feel like, you know, that's that clean air at the top of the mountain. You know, you struggled all the way up the mountain, and as you become more successful and more confident, do you feel that you can become addicted to the struggle, or you feel like if it doesn't feel like a struggle, am I not being honest? Am I being overconfident? And especially on something like a graphic novel, because I think like if it's the standard comic book, well, you do it and you move on to the next one and you move on to the next one, and you're not living with it as long, right? Like if you're working on a graphic novel, how long would the average graphic novel take you? A year?
Take me? I mean, to draw, yeah, like a year, 18 months.
Okay.
But it's the writing and conceptualizing. Yeah, I get lost up my own ass. So, or you know, I aspire to be like, you know, all things to all people, or to be some kind of like literary thing, and you know, when in reality I should just be doing pages and just making stuff happen.
Would you in the process of, so you have you work out your script, and then you start drawing your pages, right? So you have your whole thing worked out. I take it you probably have layouts, right? You have layouts, or do you just go through?
Yeah, well, it depends. But I tend to do a script, and then I'll lay out like you know, 5, 10, 15 pages at a time and draw those and just do it in chunks like that.
So are there sections that you drew that then you abandon and you go and redraw?
In seconds there was a couple, there's a couple kind of like dead end scenes or stuff that didn't quite come together. Not much made it past the rough stage though.
Okay. Because I know for some artists, being addicted to the struggle or being unsatisfied is part of their creative process. And if they were to be very like, yeah, you know, wow, this is really going smooth. Boy, look, I did, you know, 6 pages today. They would so be unhappy and distrust that. So there has to be that process of being skeptical of your own work, especially when you're in your own head, like you're working on this book for 18 months, right? How do you balance that? Do you hop back over to another process to come and then come back?
Yeah, I think time between things always helps. Like I said, I would tend to do like a chunk of this and that, like do the thumbs, do the pencils, do the inks, and then do the scanning, and then go back to the start. You know, with seconds, I had like more of a detailed outline, and I would be kind of making up dialogue every day and making up, you know, panel layouts every day. And that to me is kind of like the fun part. So, you know, the inking is kind of just like the last step for me. But yeah, I don't know.
All right, we got a really nice one to take us home with. Animal Kid says, and that's got to be weird seeing people with the avatar of Scott Pilgrim. You're like, did I draw that? I don't know.
Did I? It's from volume 6.
Yeah, look at that. I love it. What's the biggest, most important comic book making advice you would give to someone? That's a great question, Animal.
I mean, I used to say there's stuff that became outdated because it was too analog, and a lot of people use computers now. I used to say like use a ruler, but it's like now you can just hold shift or whatever. Your program can do it for you.
Right.
Put the balloons in the corners of the panels. That's my number one comic making advice. If you put the balloons in the corners of the panels, they take up more space. You don't have to draw as much underneath them, and you already know where they're going. So it saves a lot of time. As much as you can stick a balloon in the corner of a panel, do that.
I love it. Thanks. Steve, you got any last pieces?
Well, there's this lovely one. I just got to make sure that I include that. Is from Art Balthazar.
Oh yeah, man.
I really like your comic, sir.
Thank you, Art Balthazar.
It's always great to see Art in the chat. Thanks, Art. It's great to see you. Thanks. All right, guys. I'm going to cut Brian loose. This was a really great episode. It was really cool to see so many new faces in the chat. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Brian, I hope you enjoyed hanging out with us. It was really great to catch up with you, brother.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Continued success.
Thank
you. You too.
Thank you. All right, hold on. I'm going to say our goodbyes. If you can hang out with us for a couple seconds, guys. You just watched Pencil to Pencil Live. Look at you. We've all been rewarded with awesomeness for the last hour and a half. We do this every week, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. EST. We don't disintegrate once Brian's gone. We're still here. Well, there's more.
I don't know. I might disintegrate.
And if you loved our conversation with him, go back and check out our archive from 2020.
And go to tomorrows.com and you can digitally download the issue featuring Brian.
Yeah, that was a great.
In the prehistoric days of paper.
You drew a really great
shout out to everyone in the chat. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Shout out to A-E-U. That's another Scott Pilgrim reference.
I love it. Yeah. And sorry to everybody, I couldn't get you on screen, but you live on in my heart. Thank you so much. Guys, we're gonna call it a night. I'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. EST for coffee break with JN. You want to hang out with me and watch me drink
That's
coffee?
actually night where Brian is now. It was daylight.
I know. We've passed the prime meridian. So guys, thanks so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe and drop kick that alert.
Share.
Yeah, share and Sonny Bono. Share alike. This will be great. Carry us in your hearts. Guys, we have an outro. I hope Brian does it with us before he fades to black, literally. Like we're starting to not see him anymore. We started this in a pandemic because that's what was going on, and I think I think when the Terminator machines come and crush us all with Skynet, it's going to be imperative that you wash your Kirby hands and find shelter. Good Kirby hands. This is a little Sylvester right there. I love it. Guys, thanks so much. We'll see you on the other end. Take care. Good night.